going? I've written down all of our important announcements.
Hey, says we're live. We're there.
Interesting. I've got a new message here on the Zoom about it. That's updated.
Yeah. Telling you that we're live and that you have to
Yeah,
say okay.
I already did that, and then it's actually another new message that says you're currently like broadcasting live through a live streaming service.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't used to say
Custom.
that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe so. Oh, and it's showing up on the YouTubes nice and quickly tonight.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Sunday nights might be. Can I get this to go away? Okay.
Everyone's out partying for Cinco de Mayo, so
Oh, yeah. I forgot. It's Cinco de Mayo.
yeah, nobody here is paying attention to us chickens. Oh, and someone has asked me to send them a link so that they can not have to do any work to get here. They know who they are.
So, what do you think about maybe doing a Merry Wither Wax like quilt along?
Interesting.
Because I
Interesting.
was looking at this and it's like if you do these, like they're so teeny tiny. And I was
Yeah.
like, we could pick some, like I was thinking of doing a 100-day project of this for
Oh,
myself.
a what day project? Mother's Day?
Oh, a 100-day
Oh, a
project.
100 day. I was gonna say Mother's Day. That's not that far.
Now, like a little block a day, like these are tiny and they're
Rebecca is saying
doable.
she can't hear us.
Oh, no. All right. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. What is happening here?
I could hear. Hold on one second. Oh, Rebecca can hear now. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I was gonna say, Rebecca, is the problem just with you? Scared us. Okay, so continue. A Merriweather wax quilt along.
A Merry Wither Wax quilt along.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to say, I know Rebecca's listening. I'm not sure if anybody else is on yet, but I had been meaning to order this for quite some time
Right?
and was like, oh, I got to remind myself. And so while I was in California, I was like, I need to order it. So I ordered it like Wednesday night, I think, or Thursday morning. And it came the day I came back home. I was like, how? Dawn, how? And I know her hubby often does the shipping, but I was like, she's got some like Mary Poppins magic at her post office because I can literally send something in the same state to somebody and it takes like 2 weeks to get there.
That's true.
And
There's something about your shipping.
yeah, and from the Midwest, it came in like a day and a half. And it was media mail. That was the amazing part. But anyway, I would like to do a 100-day project, and maybe I might need a couple weeks before I get this started. But I thought this would be really fun to
I
do because
agree.
they're tiny blocks.
Mm-hmm.
They're very quick, I would think, to do.
Well, not for someone like me that doesn't do a lot of handwork.
Well, but I was thinking I could organize this in such a way that somebody that is not a handwork person could maybe just work on one of them per week or something, or
Mm-hmm.
and I can manage one a day. So,
Well,
and
look at you. It's
well,
fancy.
see here's the secret about 100-day projects is you are supposed to do one a day, but sometimes when you have a little extra time, you work ahead and
Mm-hmm.
then you can skip days.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty Wilkins taught me that. She did a sewing one a day project and she taught
Well,
me that.
Robin thinks it sounds like a fun project. I don't I,
Yeah.
I don't see anyone that would say it doesn't sound like a fun project unless they hate applique, but then they don't have to do it.
Yeah, so I mean it's just in some of the inspiration quilts that are in the back of the pattern book are not, they're not the whole quilt. They're like using pieces of
Mm-hmm.
the alphabet or just some of the blocks. I think there's one where it's one of Dawn's quilts where she pulled out all the blocks that were sort of botanical blocks like leaves and things, and she made a quilt of just those.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it seems like a, I mean, like I said, I've been sort of looking at it for a long time, and now that I actually have the book, I'm like, I want to go forth and make.
Rebecca, I would probably be one of the people that's always trying to catch up because I have taken a couple of hand applique classes, just day classes. And they have, like that whole pattern, maybe it's like a wreath was one of them I did and something else. I didn't even get like a leaf done, let alone like the whole thing. I took a class with somebody, I guess, pretty well known. I didn't know who they were because I don't do applique, but when I had told someone I took a class with them, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't remember her name." But she'd published a lot of books and she had this whole little thing we were supposed to do. Yeah, I got like one corner, like one side of something. It's yeah.
Well, I mean, so these are what, and they're tiny. I mean,
No, I
they're
would
like,
argue those are good
you know,
practice size.
yeah, and they're, also, I was also thinking of, I realized that John, it's the original quilt is intended to be, needlework or needle turn applique.
Hmm.
But I also like to do that applique with the well, I don't have the quilt
The
behind me
blanket
that has it,
stitch.
but blanket stitch, yeah. And then you
Hmm.
could do raw edge. And if you
Hmm.
use I don't know, I could provide some tips and tricks for for that. And that's actually a lot easier. And then you end up with something also equally cool. So
Rebecca said she probably has the other corner of my project that I didn't finish.
speaking of Rebecca, I have to call Rebecca out as this absolute sweetheart. As people are learning about my Sue obsession, they bring me things. We know our dear friend Barb brought me something cool, and Rebecca brought me this.
Oh, I have one of those.
Isn't she cute?
She's very cute.
She's a little Sue needle book.
Yeah,
And
I think almost the exact same one downstairs. She's
yeah,
very
cute.
sweet. What are you gonna name
Very
her? Is
sweet.
she Rebecca?
Yeah, she's the sweet Rebecca Sue. As
She,
opposed to Freaky Nightmare Sue, which is some of the Sue things I have.
or that tiny hand one that you have.
I didn't tell you, Tiny Hand was here when I arrived at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to call out any needle or any antique malls, but it was a bit of an ordeal to get this one framed block, which is a very bizarre Sunmanitsu block. But I'm glad that I didn't tell them in my frustration to, what, just take it out of the frame and put it in an envelope and send it to me already, because it's nice. It's nicely like professionally framed. It's like got the brown paper on the back. It was not some junky frame. And
Mm-hmm.
it has like a provenance on the back of it.
Oh, did they not tell you
Yeah.
that?
No, they didn't. And I don't know if
Oh,
Dawn never took it off the wall and looked at it. So
right, right.
yeah, when she
Oh,
found it. So
well, yay. I guess sort of it was worth the wait then. Not necessarily the
yeah,
frustration, but
yeah, it kind of was, yeah. And the woman took it to the UPS store, so it was like properly shipped. So
I
I'm
don't
not
know
gonna
that
complain.
UPS and properly shipped belong in the same sentence because all I ever picture is that scene from Ace Ventura. And he's like the UPS guy kicking the
Drop
box,
kicking.
yeah, down the hallway.
I have to
I'm,
say, if you have to ship something important and you're willing to spend the money, the UPS store, like where you go take your item and say, I don't know how to put this in the mail, they will wrap the crap out of it with bubble wrap and stuff and put it properly in a box, and like you can shake and kick the box and it will be fine.
I
So
wonder if they do that as kind of like a challenge for their delivery drivers then. Like, we're gonna wrap it, see if you can break it. Like,
all right, so we're a couple minutes after the hours. Let's get started. We have
yeah,
many,
we've got
many things.
announcements. We've got things to talk about here. So it's a weird day. I'm gonna be messed up now for the rest of the week because I think it's Tuesday.
And I have no idea what day it is because of time zones and stuff.
That's true. You're looking pretty good though for someone that's probably jet lagged. Um,
Because I slept for 12 hours straight yesterday.
well, that's good. I'd be the person that would get home and can't sleep. So because we're here today, just a reminder for everyone that we will not be here this Tuesday, the 7th. Today is replacing that. However, on Wednesday, the 8th, we will be launching our new Needlework nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be a live stream that talks about all the fabulous kinds of things we've been talking about here. And we're going to change the topic every time. We're going to stream every other Wednesday. This Wednesday's topic is going to be pin cushion shoes, like the one you see there on the bottom corner of that announcement. That's going to be phenomenal. Like, I'm so excited. I have like so many things in my brain already. And the other thing too is we'll announce those topics ahead of time. So the next topic we'll announce on Wednesday. And that gives you guys time in case you have items in your collection that you also want to share. You can send in to us either via Instagram or Facebook, or our Gmail account is quiltnerding@gmail.com. So there's that. Then next week on Monday the 13th, we didn't do it Sunday because it's Mother's Day, is our interview with Dawn. That will be kind of our grand finale to wrap up our time with her book and all of the fabulousness that she has given us with her giveaways. And it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. So if you want to send in questions, she's going to be live here on screen with us. We're going to be chatting with her. If you have questions for her, again, that you want to send to us via Instagram, Facebook, or the Quilt Nerding email, please do that ahead of time, probably within the next few days. We just want to give her time to read questions and be prepared. Not that you can't ask questions in the chat, but just in case, so we have time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys have probably noticed, those of you that have been following along all along know that we were pretty good about sticking to our hour show at the very beginning of this, but we got to this book and we have a problem. So I can imagine Dawn is probably going to have to say, look, y'all, it's midnight. I got to get the heck out of here. So, be prepared. Be prepared. You've been warned. So yeah, we want to have kind of as many questions, I guess, ahead of time. Those are the ones we're definitely going to, Dawn's going to review and get to first, and then anything else in the chat, I know she's happy to answer. Mm-hmm. So, I apologize. I didn't make a slide. I blanked. I didn't make a slide for that. So could you mention the date and time again?
I'll put it all too in the description. Always check our descriptions. We are now officially approved to have links in our descriptions. It took a while. It was kind of a hot mess, but like there's links in there now. So always look in the descriptions. But interview with Dawn and I'll also repost on Facebook and Instagram. It's gonna be Monday the 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern. That'll wrap
Monday.
Hey, everybody showed up today. So as long as we're telling people, they're coming up. So then what will happen is Tuesday we'll resume our normal schedule again. And on Tuesday, we're going to start this book. You're probably sick of seeing me post it on Instagram because it's so red and it picks a red background and it looks funky. So let me give y'all the assignment right this minute. You for May 14th, so you have a little bit more than a week this time. Your assignment in this book, Legacy, the story of Talula Gilbert Bottoms. It's like the best name.
What a name, that's the best name.
This is by Nancilu B. Burdick. You'll be reading the preface, and chapters 1, 2, and 3. It's about 30 pages. And that's what we'll be discussing on the 14th. And then we'll get back to normal and things won't be so crazy. I mean, maybe for a minute, but you never know what happens.
And if I may throw something in there that you don't even know about, is I did not know until this past week that there was an accompanying pattern book for this book.
This one?
Huh?
Where did you find that?
A dear friend of the show who says we say her name too much, Mary Lou. Mary Kay is or and this is terrible. I'm not sure. Is Nancilu Burdick still with us?
I'm not sure.
I assume she is, but she and Mary Kay are friends.
Okay.
And she and Mary Kay both published with Routledge. So Mary Kay has lots of cool stuff. So this is the book, and Family Ties, Old Quilt Patterns from the New Cloth. And I mean, it's beautiful. So, and it references, so like it'll show you a pattern and then it'll reference something from the legacy book. So if you like to make reproductions of cool things you see, check this book out. It's a very good one. I'm
Interesting.
usually
I
kind of
don't have
like
that.
meh. Yeah, I'm usually a little meh on, pattern books because I'm like, I don't have time to make them, and I'd rather buy it like an individual pattern, like the Meriwether wax pattern.
Right.
But this is a very good book, and I'm kind of like, oh, I see things I might like to make. So if you like, if you really get into this, keep this in mind and
Mhm.
check it out. So, and thank you to Mary Kay a million times for giving me this. She brought me some gifties and some treasures. This was one of them.
Hey, how do we find out about cool stuff if our friends don't tell
Yeah,
us about it?
exactly.
My last big announcement here is just our next book that will happen after Legacy, so that we just tell people ahead of time. We're going to be doing Crazy Quilts by Penny McMorris. Now, for anyone out there that's going, oh, crazy quilts. I don't really like crazy quilts. I know there are people out there like that. The reason for doing this book when we're doing it is because New England Quilt Museum just put up a new exhibit called Stitch Punk. That all has, if you're familiar with steampunk type things. And part of that exhibit are a lot of crazy quilts that the museum has, because the Victorian era is where we end up getting all of the steampunk kind of influence. So culminating the end of this book, we're going to look at a bunch of those quilts. So we're doing it now so that it can be, I don't know, I have a feeling the exhibit will still be up by the time we maybe get through with that book, but I'll at least take pictures before then. So that's why we're doing that. That's all of the pertinent announcements.
And I have to
Also,
say, first of all, who doesn't like crazy quilts? But if you don't like crazy quilts, it's okay. We'll still be friends with you. Dr. Dunton did not like crazy quilts.
yeah. Oh, and
So it's
actually,
okay.
yeah, him right here, this guy, he didn't like him. And then I guess like the last little piece of information that I didn't write down but is important is if you are an American Quilt Study member, seminar registration just started this weekend. And if you're not a member, you really should be. So if you go to AmericanQuiltStudyGroup.org, either get in there to register or sign up to be a member so that you can register, because non-members can go. It's just more expensive. So there's really no bad reason to join. And we'll
And
definitely have more about all
yours,
that stuff.
some people in this stream right now will be doing presentations. I
That's
will be
true.
doing a study center, and Jill and I will be doing some technology stuff. So
That's true. We will be doing stuff. And I actually will be Stephanie's official quilt minion when she does her study center.
quilt minion, I love it. Okay.
All right.
All right, I'm going to share my screen for one other thing that I
Did I
don't know if
forget
you were going to
something?
mention. Ah, yes.
Oh, yes. I had too many things. I am definitely forgetting stuff. So tonight, at the end of our stream, we will be announcing the week 4 winner that is going to get Dawn's newest book, which is Sewing Rolls, Needle Rolls, and Housewives. And if you were one of the people that took a picture of yourself with your book or your pet or your laptop or your desk or a quilt or something, you have been entered into that giveaway. I have a list of names here, and I will be drawing for that at the end of the stream tonight. You do not have to be in the stream to win that, because you had to enter ahead of time. So if you do need to dip out, don't you worry. We will let you know if you won. Is that it, Steph?
I think so. I
Did
think
I
we're ready to
forget
go.
anything else? By the way, Rebecca, hello. Give me your address.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was supposed to pester you, Rebecca. Okay.
So we've got some loving crazy quilts here. Kellen loves crazy quilts. And Robin says if you're interested in the Family Ties book, it's available on eBooks. And Kellen says that I'm going and I can't wait for Terrytown.
That's right, Kellen. Yes, Kellen's going. It's going to be so much fun.
Rebecca, we can totally do the Sewn in America book. I don't have it yet, but it looks incredible. Is it a really thick? I think it's a thick book, isn't it? It's not
It's
that
not
that's a problem, but
it's not super thick, like,
Mhm.
it's average thick. Yes, so as an aside, Leah did have it as one of the prizes at the retreat this week.
Oh yeah, you told me
And
that.
it was a door prize, yes. And so we got slips to put in, and I put like almost all my slips in that one because I desperately wanted the book, and somebody else got it, and I was like, like sneak behind you in the dark and steal it from you. But I ordered it, so hopefully it'll be here soon. The DAR, I think, think they ship pretty quickly. So, yeah, I'll have a look at it this week, I think, and I'll let
Oh
you
my
know.
goodness. I will. Oh, Rebecca won it.
Was that you?
She won
Oh,
it.
Rebecca, why am I thinking it was somebody else? It was you. That's right. That is right. I was gonna steal it out of your bag while I was hugging you. Okay.
Steph, are you able to delete her comments there? Rebecca, rule number 1 here is don't put that kind of stuff in chats on things.
Okay, wait a sec. I don't know if I can. Oh, yeah. Did you copy it though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Is it an option?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You are safe. You are safe, Rebecca. Your
Yeah, Rebecca,
identity is your
next time
identity is not going to be stolen.
Yeah, don't put that kind of information in a live stream.
It's okay though.
Okay. I did get it though, Rebecca.
All right.
Alrighty.
Okay. Let me go back to this.
Let's rock and roll.
I need like 12 screens now.
This is why you do some of these things that I don't do, because I don't have 12 screens.
Okay. So am I jumping in too fast? Oops. Okay. All right. So, what do I do with my book? I can't see your face right now.
I didn't want to look at your face anyways.
So I had to, this is one of my weird flexes. I have a lot of darning stuff. And I embarked on this sort of make do and slow sewing and all that kind of stuff a while back. And I know that, like, you know, like the visible mending is really big and all that kind of stuff. I also happen to like invisible mending. So I really got into darning eggs and all kinds of other darning type stuff. So this is just a little bit of my darning eggs collection. I have an obscene amount of them. And yeah, they're typically easy to find. And this was something like I think we had talked, you know, earlier about, you know, if you don't already collect needlework tools and you're interested in it, you know, pin cushions are often a really good starting place because, I mean, pin cushions are easy to find. Darning eggs are also very easy to find. I feel like before, say, like the 50s and 60s, before we got into those sort of disposable garments and disposable things, you know, before pantyhose, people like fixed their stockings and darned their socks. And so people often had at least one, if not multiple darning eggs in their sewing baskets and whatever. So, you know, when you buy a sewing basket at an estate sale, there's a very good chance you're going to get one or more darning eggs. So this is my life's work of collecting darning eggs. And a couple of things I wanted to say, and you know, I did skip hoops here. I know as we're getting started, I have things to say about hoops too, and I don't know what you have to say about hoops, but this chapter in particular, I was well on my way when I got Dawn's book, and I was like, I have that, I have that, I have that. So I was really excited that she has this chapter in her book. But yeah, there's so many cool things, right? And these are very simple. Do you have a lot of darning eggs?
I don't actually, believe it or not. It's funny. Seeing them out in the world, they're not something I tend to gravitate to. And shockingly, they have not really been in kind of the baskets or things that I have bought. However, after reading um I am more interested in them than I was before. The one in particular on page 203 that has the concave top with thread storage underneath it, and then the
Yes,
handle
yes,
has
that one.
the needle
Mhm.
holders. That is really neat.
Yes, the concave top, that is something I had never seen before. And that one, and I
Mhm.
mean, it looks really beautiful. Um, I have a couple that I think are kind of, quote unquote, nicer. And I did have, I'm going to stop sharing for a sec because I do have ones to hold up. This one is one, and it's in the picture up there, but this one is one that I have that comes apart.
Oh.
And what is inside is a tape measure, an old fabric tape
Hmm.
measure, which is a topic of conversation tonight as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, most of the ones I have are not, like, super complicated like that. Most of them are just, I didn't actually pull out any of them, other than, in the picture. But I have one I did not show in the picture. This is kind of changing the subject a little bit. I paid a ridiculous amount of money for this, but and I feel like there was a lot of crafting going on with the darning eggs in, I don't know, like end of the 20th century. Still, people paint them and stuff. But I do think that this is an older version of a painting. This is not, I don't know that it was originally like sold like this, I mean, it could be, but anyway, I just thought this was so charming, and I paid too much for it, but isn't she cute?
That's not the hat stand thing you got, is it?
No, that's another thing
Okay, so
entirely.
say it looks similar to that, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it
what at
does. It
first
does.
that's what I thought you were
It's,
holding up.
yeah, it's in that same kind of vein, but also, so to talk about, so
Looks like
Dawn
you're
mentioned
holding
it here.
maracas.
I know these are big, aren't they? And I'm not
That's
entirely,
huge.
so here, but what Dawn mentioned in the book, and as when I read that paragraph or that sentence, I was like, yes. Sometimes if people didn't have one, they used other stuff, right? And so she said plaster eggs and all this kind of stuff. Well, these things, I'm pretty sure they're darning eggs, but this one, I'm almost could possibly be something kitchen related.
Hmm.
But I have something that is kitchen related. It's like a masher, and it is shaped differently. It kind of has like, it's almost got corners to it. So I'm not sure about this, but that is another thing. Like, you need to darn your socks. You can't find your darning egg. Grab a thing that's in the house. So
And
I've
those
shown
those
this.
big ones there, they don't open, do they?
No, these two don't
Okay.
open. But I've shown this on my stream a couple times. Is this. And
Hmm.
I found it in a sewing basket, and it definitely has like, it's not really scratch. Well, I mean, it's kind of scratches. So the kind of surface that you would find on a darning egg that's been used, you could kind of see the little needle scratches. This has some little scratches on it. So I'm pretty sure it was used. It's glass.
Hmm.
And for you probably know what it is, but does anybody on the stream, and Robin, if you're here, you're not allowed to answer because I know you know what it is. You guys know what it actually is?
I mean, I do,
Imagine a
but I'm not gonna do that.
imagine a farm wife who can't find her darning egg. And if you don't know about this on farms, you may not realize, but I don't know if anybody is commenting.
Robin says she knows nothing.
Oh, okay. Maybe you weren't on that stream. Or
Oh
maybe
no,
you
I think she's
were.
being
Oh,
sarcastic.
she's being sarcastic. So what this is a fake egg for tricking chickens. So if your hens are not laying, and for whatever reason, maybe it's just because they're like, huh, you trick them and you give them an egg to sit on, and they're like, oh, this chicken needs some brothers and sisters. Let me get going.
So what's the ad for that thing? Like, are your chicken, take your chickens from to like
Trick your chickens. Yeah. And when I first found it, I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. I thought it was like this blown glass, thing. And then I ran into, I don't know if it was on eBay or Instagram or something, somebody that actually collects these and explained what they were. And I was like, that's what I have. This is not really a darner, but it works, right? And it's glass. It's really not any different than an actual glass darner.
sure, it just doesn't have that handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then still along the vein of making do, I don't know whether this was ever used as such, but it was in a bunch of things like darning eggs is this. And
That
I'm 99% sure this is some sort of like off of furniture, like a newel like a post, finial off of some furniture. I'm like, dang it,
hey, if it
I
works.
lost my darning egg.
Yeah.
Cletus, go get me the knob off the bed.
Yeah, it's just like, oh hey, this will work, crunch. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
I can see that.
Yeah. And so one last, because this is something that I know Dawn has in the book about the fancy ones that have the silver handle, the silver plate
Yeah.
handle, right? And I've seen those in antique stores.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to collect the dots. I ended up with a couple of darning eggs like this, and I was like, what is the deal? I have one that just has a hole, and then I have one that's like this, and I'm like, did they fit together somehow? No, this is where somebody has stripped the silver handles off of them to, I don't know, use for something else. Maybe, they had some value. I don't know. Plated silver tends to not have that much value unless you're collecting the silver. So, but anyway, that is what these are. If you run across an egg that's got like a thing like this and it's black, the good chances that somebody has stripped the valuable handle off of it. So
Robin says she's gonna have to hunt down some of those eggs for her son and daughter-in-law.
oh, they have chickens?
Yeah, they just got chickens. And
Love it.
Robin, when you give it to them, make sure to be like, take your chicken from her to her. Like,
So I'm just sharing this because I didn't really have I don't think we had any pictures for hoops. But what I was
I
really
sent you
interested.
one of the things I gave you was a link for hoops.
Did you?
Yeah, that's the one I
Oh,
sent
that's
you.
right.
So,
That's right.
yeah,
It's an eBay. So did
I
you put
gave you a
that in
link.
the I have the link, but I don't have access to chat right now. So
No, it's in your email to share on your
I
screen.
know. Oh, well, I just didn't know if people wanted to actually click it, but okay, hold on a sec. I do
I'll put
have
it in
that.
the description when we're done
Yeah, okay. All right.
because I don't
Oh,
have it
crud. That close
currently.
it. I do I do have it. And it worked. I checked it. So
Yeah, it's a search I did for sold hoops because there's been some hoop frenzy in the recent times, much
yeah,
different than
what's
the
that?
end times.
Really? What's that about? Hoop frenzy?
Yeah, I I'm assuming it has more to do with kind of like the floss tube community. Um and
I didn't look at this in detail when
mm,
holy Moses, look at the prices on this thing.
so funny story. So I don't actually remember how the conversation came up, but so yeah, these are those hoops that are wool lined for the most part.
Well, this one is actually cork. That's cork in there.
Oh, that one's on top.
I think. Yeah, because I don't have any that
Yeah, and
have
that
that
one's
little
metal.
knob. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't have anything that has that little knob like that,
Hmm.
where that it sits like that, but I do have some that are just plain that like fit inside each other
Hmm.
and they're lined with cork.
Yeah, you see
So,
that one underneath it, the 400?
mhm.
That's got the wool.
I mean, we're talking about that's like a tiny hoop too, $400.
So, yeah, it's this queen embroidery hoops. So, I guess people in the floss tube community and anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's people who have YouTube channels that talk about needlework and embroidery and cross stitch and stuff like that. And they call that section of YouTube floss tube, and it's a really big community. So somehow it came up. So it's 425. I was trying to find a particular one, but I couldn't find because it was too long ago when it was sold. Um, Dawn had and I were chatting one day, and she was like, "Oh, hey, and by the way, if you're ever out on your hunts, your antique hunts, uh, and keep your eye out for these hoops." And I was like, "What is so special about these hoops?" And I guess it's maybe that they're lined with the dial. I mean, they're very nice. Now, it's hysterical because the next day I walk into the museum and I walk into Pam's office and there's one of those hoops on her desk. And I was like, hey, do you know about these hoops? And she was like, what do you mean? I just use them to fix quilts in a particular way. I don't know. She used them for something for displaying quilts sometimes.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I was like, hey, apparently these hoops are like fetching a lot of money on eBay. And she's like, no kidding. And she like goes and like looks and she's like, oh, I'm gonna list it then to make money for the museum. And it went for over, I think, $500. It was
Wow.
bananas. And I think it was like a 6-inch hoop.
That's
Now, that
interesting.
being said,
It seems like, I mean, just I'm scrolling through the prices here as you were talking, and it seems like the ones that are like the really top dollar are these wooden ones,
mhm,
and there's the smaller ones. And my guess is the wooden ones probably broke, I mean, wood breaks, metal doesn't break like wood does. So I would see that possibly the wooden ones maybe are not as
I think
common
too,
because
if I remember correctly, I think the oval ones are really desirable. And I think it's the 5-inchers that are the most desirable in terms of just like the regular round ones.
yeah, that unless like I'm scrolling through here, I see
Mhm.
as they get a little bigger, they get a little less expensive in terms
Yeah.
of auction
And I will
prices.
say, like, I had like done a search for anyone that's searching. There are some currently up for auction that are currently not at bananas prices. If you were interested and wanted to watch something like that. Yeah, Tish, I'd never noticed them ever, ever, ever until Dawn brought them to my attention. And I just thought it was so bizarre that I literally
Yeah.
like see one the next day in the museum. I don't tend to see them out in the wild, although I mean, to be honest with you, like it's not top of my radar.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, same. I mean, I do use embroidery hoops for stuff,
mhm,
but
mhm.
I have some in there. Well, we're on antique American needlework tools, but I do use ones from Germany because the German ones are really nice, like newer ones. The German ones are really
I
nice.
have to say, having seen the one, that Pam had from the museum, they are very nice.
Mhm.
They're
Well, they do it.
definitely they're
Yeah.
definitely far better than what we're buying in the craft store today.
Oh
That's for
yeah, that
sure.
stuff is honestly that those are trash. I'm sorry to anybody that does not have access or the money to buy a nicer hoops and has
Hmm.
to, buy those cheap ones.
I mean
I
that
think they're
those are the kind of hoops that I buy if I'm gonna like do embroidery because I don't do enough to like
well,
invest in a
yeah,
nice hoop.
exactly. And
But I'm
exactly.
like
Like yeah.
I'm like I should if I but I don't do enough for that. But it's totally like
Mhm.
if I was like the girls over on FlossTube there's a ton of girls that do great stuff. Please watch them. The hoops,
Yeah.
some of the hoops that those ladies have are just mwah. Like I
I
don't
feel
know
like,
where they get them.
I feel like I have bought some like finer quality wooden hoops that are not that expensive. Like, under $20, if
Hmm.
you are getting into embroidering, maybe and for modern ones. But yeah, I would assume that these that are showing that have, I mean, they're just in really pristine condition and they're nice. They're not splintery
Hmm.
crud that like the trash
I
that's
like
store
those
now.
things that I see people have now that are kind of like the tabletop like scroll type
Ah, yes.
situation.
Uh-huh. Those are sort of needlepoint, like that's more needlepoint. But I think people that are really serious about making embroidered things have gone to that like needlepoint, versus the small little handheld stuff.
Because
I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute.
I am totally a huncher. So anything that would kind of help some of that would be nice. But yeah, that is my personal foray into the hoop world. If people want to know nice things about hoops.
Yeah, this is one I forgot I had. And I
Wow,
just
that has seen better days.
well, yes, absolutely. And it has been, but Dawn mentioned, sometimes that people would wrap fabric around. And this is something people who embroider today will often do this. And I remember thinking like, oh, how clever that they came up with this. They didn't come up with that. The stitchers of yore did, but this one literally they have like made little stitches to hold it in there
Hmm.
so that it didn't come unraveled and then, But see, this is
Hmm.
cork. You see it's cork.
Hmm.
And this one I thought had a really neat mechanism. See the mechanism? Like it works the same way as the ones that
Yep.
you you'd see today.
But it's not like stabbing you, or you're not getting
No.
your thread
Well,
caught
right,
on it
and
all the
yeah,
time.
exactly, and I think that's a really smart design, and it's a shame that
Why did they change it to make it worse?
yeah, to make those crap ones, it must be easier to. But yeah, I had two others that these are just spring loaded.
Mhm.
So and and this one doesn't look like it's really ever been used, but they're cork lined too.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I
I
wouldn't, cork seems odd to me because cork, like, like, what's the word I want? Disintegrates off. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, this one's cork lined too. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Robin said they changed the design to the way because the screws are less expensive. Robin, get out of here with your logic. I don't need that kind of
I
logic
think
in
she's
my life. I just want to be sad.
yeah, I believe she's correct though.
Oh, for sure. Anything that sucks worse for the person is totally like less expensive.
So, oh, and the other thing I wanted to say before we move on to sort of the next thing is that Dawn mentioned these rubber hoops in there. I have never seen that.
I've never seen them either.
And so my guess about those is those also I mean, and maybe they weren't manufactured as like fervently as the metal and wooden hoops, but I also wonder if like I know old rubber can be kind of like it like dry rots kind of. So I'm wondering if that is, if they haven't been properly cared for, that those maybe did not make it to today, as many of them.
Mm-hmm. Tish said that she has a cork line one from an ancient aunt, but didn't think much about it. Tish,
Yeah.
I want to hear more about this ancient aunt. It sounds like this ancient aunt that I dug up in Egypt, the Valley of the Kings.
So I guess marking and measuring would be next.
Mm-hmm.
And Dawn sent us this picture, and I love it because she makes the most beautiful displays,
I know, I'm
both
not
in
that
her
creative.
yeah, both in her home and in on her Instagram and Facebook pictures. She's very talented and has just, she's just got like a flair for this. So I just love this, and I think she's got links or pictures of some of these items individually, but I love this. This is such a nice
Wow,
little.
Steph, you need that cat.
I know. I was looking at that. I did procure another animal for the menagerie. I will show it on my stream tomorrow. Just when I said no more animals can join the ark, I found one.
Yeah, I think you need to stop saying things like that. That's when they
I know,
come.
exactly. So this is one of the things, and I do believe this is in the book, and the details about this in the book is it's for measuring from under your armpit to your hip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think probably makes a difference. And I don't know if this is really detailed in there, but I think in terms of things like uh bodices or corsets, this is a kind of that's a measurement that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're short-waisted like I am, the space from your armpit to your natural waist or your hip is shorter than say a person that's got like a very long body.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I'm sure, was a very important measurement in, dressmaking at some point in time.
For someone
Um,
like myself that has never ever made any kind of garment and will not ever make any kind of garment, this just looks like torture device to me.
that's funny. But no, it is not a torture device. And in fact, well, you may feel tortured when you actually use these to measure your body if you make your own clothing, which I've actually been sewing clothing longer than I have been quilting. And I did like a really intense period of historical costume sewing. So this kind of stuff is important because, today we're looking at measurements like this. Is this big enough to fit around my upper girth and my lower girth? And that's like what you need to know, right? Is it long enough? Does it fit around your circumference? Um, and certainly like something that isn't stretchy, like a button-down shirt, you've got a couple more measurements there. Men often have more of the inches measurements, around like shirts, the around your neck, your arm length, things like that. But back in the day, and I want to say, if I looked at this correctly, it says patent March 27th, 94, right? Yeah. that would be 1894, not 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a lot more measurements because bodices, particularly in that time period, they were in doing those like bizarre things, like those big pigeon breast stuff. I think
Mm-hmm.
the pigeon breast was maybe a little bit earlier, but they did have these very, very elaborate measurements for bodices and things. And it was so that it fits you properly and it didn't like bind you and, you know, like clothes do today. I mean, think about how many garments you own that probably don't fit well, that you wear once and you're like, oh, this is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
They had made their clothes and they didn't have those issues that we have today. So that's what stuff like this is used for.
You mean like they made clothes to fit their body and now we try to fit our body to the clothes?
Ding, ding, ding. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And so I'd never seen something like this. And I do remember looking at it in the book when I first got her book, going like, what in the hell is this thing? And reading and going, oh, okay, I got it. So, but that was pretty a neat thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's got, yes, this. Oh my gosh. Tattle tape for women. Are you kidding me? This is like, okay, so you've been lying about how fat you are. Well, this tape is going to expose you.
That's, oh my
I
God.
mean,
Like,
the fat shaming. I can't even.
yeah, well, I mean, diet culture for sure, like all that stuff.
Hmm. And I don't know, see, I don't, oh, 1938, which, yeah, I mean, this is 1920s, 1930s. I mean, this is another time when that, you know, I guess people don't have anything better to do. We're not at war during the 30s. We're just starving to death from depression. But I just was like, these kind of things just blow me away.
Yeah, like for beauty, health, and appearance, check your weight and measurements each month.
Yeah. Your bust should measure 1 to 2.5 inches larger than chest. Okay. Probably this is a little TMI, but it doesn't matter how heavy or skinny I have been since I matured into a lady. My chest has always been like my bust is always measured more than 1 to 2.5 inches bigger than my chest. And it has nothing to do with my body size. It has to do with what I have been endowed with. And I'm sure there's folks out there that you're like, yeah, same. So when you see stuff like this, it's just infuriating. But it is, I mean, this is the material culture of our society, you know?
Toxic diet culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know, so my grandmother was, she did a lot of sort of, well, she and my mom both sewed a lot of garments, and my grandmother actually took like a tailoring classes. Um, and I'm drawing a blank right now on what the name of the system they would have. You know, they have these tailoring systems, and she took the one. And I have all her textbooks and stuff. It's really cool. But it does like there's definitely this message in there, and it's so strange to me how we go from, you know, the 1900s where we had all these bizarre silhouettes, like I said, like pigeon breast.
Hmm.
Nobody naturally looks like that in the front. You had to pad yourself. You had
Hmm.
corsets and stuff that got padded out. So we just arbitrarily create these silhouettes, and for whatever reason in the 20th century, this curve, you know, the wasp waist is very popular. You know, in the 20s and 30s, the you know, being boyish, having boyish hips was popular. And it's also unnatural. And it's, you know, when you really get into the details, you find out that people really weren't shaped like that. People were shaped just like they are today, but the fashion, they did different things to make it work. And,
Hmm.
but now, like you said earlier, nowadays it's make your body fit the fashion versus, you know, making the fashion fit your body. It's,
Well, and I guess to the certain extent, remember in the like 80s and 90s, padded like shoulder pads in sport coat kind of things for women
yeah.
were like this huge
Yeah.
deal.
No, nobody actually is built like a linebacker. At least most people aren't, but you can look like it with your it's just crazy to me. So let me just step off my rant. Let me step off my soapbox. But yeah, when I saw this, I was like, holy moly. And it is I think this one is in the book too. But
Tish said Palmer and Pletch, maybe. I don't know what that's referring
Palmer,
to.
yes, Palmer and Pletch is one. But yeah, the other one is I'll remember it as soon as we finish here today. In fact, the book is down in my bookshelf not far away,
And
but
also, she said, as a rectangle, I'd be doomed when wasp waists were a thing. God, say that 3 times fast.
Well, but the beautiful thing, not the 20th century, because the 20th century, you are expected to be like, you want a wasp waist, you naturally have to have it. Go get the plastic surgery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the 19th century, they were like, I'm shaped like, I'm shaped like a pencil or a cucumber or whatever is long and cylindrical and has no divots in it. And I want to look like I have a bust and hips. So you pad yourself. That's what butt pads and, they had things to sort of stuff your corset and make you look booby. And
Well, I
um,
mean, we still have that.
well, we do. But yeah, they definitely played around with dimensions and proportions and stuff way more than we realize. They were not tight lacing in the
Mhm.
19th and 18th centuries the way that people do today. I won't go off into the whole dissertation on corsets, but corsets were like wearing bras.
Mhm.
Were they comfortable? No. Were they like killing people? No.
Robin says those shoulder pads were the worst for me. I already have broad shoulders. I always took the pads out. I remember my
Yeah,
mom
well,
specifically putting
yeah, me
pads
too.
into things.
Well, me too. I have broad shoulders, but they slope down. Like I don't have like, straight shoulders. So I feel like the shoulder pads help a little bit, but also if you don't want to look like you're, like you have to go sideways to get through your doors. All right. So this, oh my goodness, this is such a beautiful little thing, isn't it?
I I feel like I have one. I feel like I have one, but if I do, I don't know what happened to it.
I'm assuming this is sterling silver.
Yeah,
Um,
it looks like it is.
and these are those hands you were searching for, right? The
Yeah.
little, yeah. Um, yeah, when Jill and I were out looking at the antique places in Adamstown, Pennsylvania, she's told me she always has her eye out for this particular little
Yeah.
holding hands. And I was like, well, you could get the one hand, which was made by Avon for holding your soap. And it looks a lot like this. um, yeah, I thought this thing was just so beautiful. And this is like, I think this seems rare to me. Like I haven't seen a whole lot of this sliding thing in antique needlework tools. Um, I'm holding up here. I know my picture's small, but I have the not antique ones, the 20th
Oh,
century
yeah,
ones.
no, yeah, I've got 20th
Yeah,
century
I
ones.
have piles of these, and they are quite ubiquitous. But
Mhm.
uh,
They're
this is
not as pretty as that. I've seen
yeah,
some,
definitely not.
but it's generally not something I often tend to buy. And I feel like the places I've seen them are higher end malls where people are doing a lot of research on their items, so the items are far
Hmm.
more expensive. Taking one moment back to our shoulder pads, Carolyn said, I have broad shoulders and I'm almost 6 feet tall. With the shoulder pads, I was ready for the NFL in the 80s.
I love it. We should all just start wearing shoulder pads and like be in our, you know, just like yes, I have to turn sideways to get through doors, but that's okay. Hear me roar.
Should we like have a live stream that's like shoulder pad Sundays? Like
Yeah,
we
there you
sit
go.
here in our shoulder pads and our in our 80s, 90s, loud looking blazers, and we just talk about padding.
If you're gonna bring the power pose back, yeah, bring Liz like a shark fin sort of. But yeah, I just thought this was such a pretty little thing. And it seems like, again, that little filigree thing on the end. Like I know this one is probably not really like so much like silverware, but I feel like all of those little things that they must be made by silversmiths or makers in that like industry that did silverware and these
Hmm.
kind of tools and like, I don't know, maybe other stuff. I'm not sure. These kind of things are still a little bit above my pay grade in
Hmm.
terms of acquisition. So I'm getting to the point though where I'm putting my pennies away and I can start to go from plastic to fine metal very soon. So this is one that you sent.
Yeah, so just like the where am I here in the book? Just like all the cute little rulers on 215. Um, I had been searching for a while for one of these little 6-inch guys to use to take pictures when I put needlework tools up for sale. And I wanted to kind of related so I have to say the only thing that's a bummer is I haven't actually used this yet in any of my photos because sometimes because it's so dark, it looks weird and you can't really read the markings.
Oh yeah, you need a
So
lighter wood one. Yeah.
So I have like just like a regular Staples, blah, whatever. I wanted something relevant because this is Central Sewing Center, Rex Sewing Center, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, this is Michigan.
Yeah, and then the machines, Bernina, Viking, Necky, and
mhm.
Universal.
And it's funny, I know someone, I will not name names, that collects these kinds of rulers and has a gajillion of them. And believe it or not, I was so shocked when they told me that they actually didn't have this one. I was
Oh,
just like, huh, that's right.
I love
Sometimes
it.
I find the interesting stuff searching eBay for hours upon hours upon hours.
Oh, okay. I jumped for I jumped forward
You
on more
can't be
pixels.
trusted with the buttons.
I can't.
The other thing
So
too is
yeah.
with those rulers on page 215, we have an ample amount of the retractable cloth tape measures.
Mm-hmm.
I do have quite a
Yes,
few of those. I did
I
not
do too.
include any of those tonight because I figured that will be a good topic night for needlework nights.
Yes, I agree with you. And I didn't grab up any of mine, but a lot of the little retractable ones I have, they're not American.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was another thing that I know I got excited on week one and then I started thinking, probably a lot of the crap that I've grabbed up is non-American. So I've been trying to like pick and choose with things to show. Um, let me stop sharing again real quick. But one of my little treasures, and I'm a little bit disappointed what something has happened to it. But do you remember seeing this when we were, it's a little
Mm-hmm.
tape measure, and this is they're made in America, and the little leaf pulls out. It's
Mm-hmm.
very cute. But there's a stem that goes in here that you push down. So like if you pull this out, you push the stem down and it holds it.
Oh, mm-hmm. Oh,
The
it went all the
stem
way
somehow has
inside.
gotten pushed in. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Oh,
How?
that
And
stinks.
yeah, and because it's plastic, it's like it's glued together. Like there's no way to like open it up without damaging it. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really upset about that, but it is a very cute little tape measure.
Mm-hmm.
And it is made in the US, and it's so precious. And this is another one of those things, like I think these things I think would break pretty easily, and so they're a little bit more expensive to collect, but these are also kind of like a nice little like entry level collection item.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can find them, they're small and they're very
Well,
cute.
especially like the probably like 1950s, 1960s ones.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into these cloth ones and stuff and some of the older ones, you
Mm-hmm.
can get into some like ridiculously expensive ones that I'm not even sure how like I'm like why um but yeah, just like anything you can crack in really easily and then get go high off the deep end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a lot of the ones that are, it's like a heavier paper, and they're sort of like serged on the side. It's almost like a serger stitch on the side, and then cloth ones like that. I have, they seem to be another thing that is sort of ubiquitous in older sewing kits that you might find at estate sales. A lot of times they're very tattered, they're very well worn. And the little cloth tape measures that are inside, actually, I see if I marked it. Um, eh, they are on page. Darn it. Where'd they go? They're in here. I know. It's a little thing you actually have. Oh, here we go. Page 215. The ones on there that
Mhm.
one's like a seashell, but there's one that's like I think it's a taguanut. Is that how you pronounce that? Taguanut?
Mhm.
The one with the pink. I think
The
that's what it is.
vegetable ivory.
Yes, I have a similar one, and you have to wind it up with the little knob. It doesn't have a spring in
Mhm.
it. I feel like I see those sometimes, and I think those are, they're older. because the spring mechanism, and they're like a very thin, fine ribbon. That also didn't wear very well. So I think they're a little bit rarer, but they're just so charming. I mean, they're little and they're cute and they're,
Yeah,
you
I
could
don't
just
think the
imagine.
notions that we make today are very cute.
No, they're not. So
Maybe
many of them are
maybe some of
garbage.
that like fancier, like I know people get really into like the fancy like Tula pink like scissors and stuff like that. Like I mean, yeah, those are cute, but like I mean like these are like cute. You know, like those kinds of
Yeah,
fancy scissors, those are nice. These are cute.
exactly. So share my screen again. So Dawn had the marking things, and this is a picture. I think I shared this on my Instagram a while back, or a
Oh my
similar
God,
one.
quite some time ago.
Yeah, I have a lot of these. Now, many of them are not made in the US. Many of them are like Dritz. I think some of the ones that Dritz made were actually made in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some very cute ones that are Japanese, like they're little tiny. I might have I think I didn't put that picture in here because they're not from the US, but I have some, I think this one's in that picture. It's got a bent head. And then Singer, ye old plastic Singer ones, these are I think this one with this one, but I mean this is like an old one. They're not marked, they're pretty old. And then this one is a Dritz. It did not have a country of manufacture, but these again are like they're a ubiquitous thing but we just don't use them anymore necessarily.
I know I've
Because
never used one in my life.
yeah, we're not transferring patterns anymore. But if you are curious, the way that these are used is that you would have your pattern, and then below that you'd have some type of transfer medium like a chalk paper or a carbon paper. The ones that you buy for sewing they're like impregnated with chalk. And then you have your fabric below that, and you literally trace around your pattern, and these little nubbies are pushing that whatever that transfer medium is like onto your fabric. And it's a very fine line, so it doesn't, think about today, like if you use those water erasable markers, sometimes the line you trace is huge. Or sometimes you find out that stuff doesn't come out of your fabric after you use one of those. So I
Yikes.
think these were pretty cool. I personally, with clothing things, I tend to do thread marking. But I use a Hera marker with quilting because I just don't trust anything that puts marking on fabric. I prefer something that's just completely, it goes away pretty quickly. So, and by the way, a Hera marker is like a tool that you scoot across the fabric, kind of press it down hard, and it just makes like a crease. And
oh yeah.
It eventually kind of fluffs back up, or if you wash it, it goes away, and you don't have to worry about like a chalk or some kind of like a chemical ink or something like that. So this is getting into the things that were in Dawn's little case there. These are so cool. These are for marking quilting lines, right?
Oh yeah. The sheet metal and stuff.
And I know in the book she has, and you and I talked about these recently, it's shaped like they're almost like the orange peel kind of star. And I always thought those were quilting patterns, but they're actually for making that tufted work.
Oh, I thought the same thing. I have some of those.
Yeah. I think those are, I don't want to say easy to find. I want to say they're regional. Like you would find a lot of them here in the Mid-Atlantic because that craft was a Mennonite craft, that making those tufted things. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's on page
227.
Yeah, 227. So that plush work. Oh, she calls it plush work. Yeah, I've heard of tufted work. But that was a thing that I guess was popular in the Victorian era. And then she mentions the Amish, but I've also seen it attributed to the Mennonites that did that.
Yeah, I got my tin templates there from dealers that were from Pennsylvania.
Now we have the stamps. And
Stamps.
so I shared on my Instagram, I guess it was last night. It's a reel or a story. So you'll see in there, I want to say it's a couple pictures in, my hand holding a stamp.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a whole bunch of other pictures that go along with that, and I need to double check with the woman who's those things belong to ask her if I can share them.
Oh, I was
I'm
gonna
pretty
say, did
sure.
you buy a stamp while you were gone?
No, I did not, but
Mm.
there was a woman at the retreat, and she collects them. So not just the stamps, but also all of the marking stuff that Dawn has here in the book. And she
Mm-hmm.
had a whole ton of it, and she put it all out for us to, like, look at. And they were just so neat. And I had seen all of these things before. But as other than the stamps, I had never really like picked up and handled like the brass templates, the little
Mm-hmm.
stencils. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did these work? Did they roll? And she goes, well, no, it's like a stencil. There was a little tiny brush that, you put that little brass stencil down and you little tiny brush. And I was like, oh, just like stenciling with the, like, they did in the 80s. My mom stenciled stuff in the 80s with the plastic stencil, and you dab it, on your wall or wherever. It was the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how cool.
Yeah, I don't know how the brass ones that are on page 219. I don't have any of those, and I've never come across them out in my hunting. But this
Well, I know a person who has the mother load. So once I double check with her and make sure it's okay to share them, I will show you the pictures I took because they are very, very neat.
So this box that we're looking at, the top and the inside lid, is something from my collection. And sadly, the box doesn't have like the template for the name there anymore. Because that stamp that they were testing it on is like, what is it? Frank
Frank
W. Hold on.
Robert,
It's I don't know what the
Herbert,
middle
Herbert.
letter is, but yeah, it's Frank something Robert. And the other
Is
one
it
is like,
Robert or Hobart?
it looks like Robert to me.
Yeah,
And then there's another name. Oh no, it's just Frank upside down. Never
it's
mind.
upside down. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then what came in that little box, which I don't know is actually original to the box or not, is a lovely, yummy stamp.
Did I jump forward to the wrong thing?
No, hold on. Let me just.
I will tell you. Oops. I will tell you that one of the pictures you sent me that went with this was blurry, so I didn't
Oh,
put
did
it
it come
in.
in blurry?
Yeah,
Um,
so I don't know if it was in there. What I will say, let me see. Um, I know I put this in here and I kind of, so these instructions: keep the article well by the fire or expose it to clear sun 10 to 12 hours. Like, these instructions are very interesting. Um, and I can't remember. I don't know if I put a picture I had in. I did not share a picture I had, but Mary Kay gifted me with something else for you and I for our experiments, and it was kind of it's fabric marking stuff.
oh yeah, you told me that.
And it wasn't entirely clear to me if it was something that was from France or if it was distributed in the US with this like French name, but it was something to the effect of like, you use this little stampy pouncer thing, but you first like wet your fabric with kerosene. Like, it was another one of those kind of things. And it was like, oh my God. But I think it was for transferring, like embroidery patterns, like today you would iron them on. This, I think, was using this thing to transfer that way. So very interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's the stamp that came with this box. I don't know if that's the original stamp to this box, but that's just
gotcha.
the one that came. This one's from my collection. It's so hard lighting wise sometimes to get a good picture with the
Yeah. And I know you and I have talked about this before because I know I've asked you the questions. It did have like a little plunger, like, is it
yeah,
kind of like a
it
spray?
plunges down. It's
Yeah.
spring.
Yeah.
It's a
And so
spring.
I guess you could kind of see that in there, I guess. And
Yeah.
then you'd put the type in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Which I don't have any of that stuff. Like the stuff Dawn has on page 119 there, which got that whole box with all this like typeface in it. I don't have any of that. And even those tiny little stamps that hold just the typeface, those are kind of cool.
Yeah, so
And
219.
then
So
go ahead.
Here's one little tidbit that I got from the person that collects these when I was at the retreat. She said that these things were easily lost, the little type, because it's very tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking to myself, well, why wouldn't they just use printer's type? And I did not express this out loud, but she said, well, and it's funny, it's like she read my mind. She was like, well, these little pieces of type were easily lost, but she said, and they could not then just go grab printer's type because of the length of the shaft of the little type. So I can imagine a rubber stamp.
Oh yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you were gonna like clamp a rubber stamp in something, well, the printer's type would have like a big tall, chunk there, whereas these were very short. And so you couldn't like just stick printer's type in there. It wouldn't fit. It wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, ah. So they didn't make things in a way that a person would be able to replace these without buying the type that was meant for these tools.
What's funny too is like, can you imagine, because these things are not big, they're the size of your hand. Can you imagine like changing out the name in it with these little tiny letters and
Well, I kind
dropping
of
them?
wondered, did they sell tweezers with it? Because that's how you change it out, is you have to use tweezers.
Yeah, it looks in the picture of Dawn's with the box here, it looks like there's a pair of kind of like particular tweezers. But even if there's tweezers, you can drop stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and imagine like you drop like the only cue that's in the whole box and that's just lost forever. Now,
Yeah. So,
the next stamp you have from my collection is actually that is this like the same stamp that Dawn has on 220. I did not get it from Dawn.
and I believe it is, if not the same, a very similar stamp to the one that I just posted to Instagram
Oh.
yesterday. I think this is, again, the person whose collection I had the pleasure of looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say the birds, the lovebirds, I think are just a really common design. They're just,
Yeah.
people liked it. And so I think this was created quite a bit, or something similar.
The other thing I think is really cool is like the side there where you turn the spring to like hold in the type. It looks like a little like clamshell.
I know. I love
I think
that.
that's such a
And
cute detail.
this is another thing as we've been looking at all of these things, and it's little bitty things like that. When we looked at the clamps earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the clamps have like the little thumb screw, and the clamps, even some of them were pretty little decorative. Today you buy something and, well, I mean, if it even has a thumb screw like worth looking at, it's nothing special. It's like maybe it's ridged to help get your grip for your fingers, but otherwise it's not pretty. And
Mm-hmm.
they took the time and energy to put these little flourishes on things, and I think
Yeah,
that's part of why this stuff is so charming and alluring. It's because it was well crafted, or at least crafted in such a way that it was interesting or charming to look at.
absolutely. And then you also have a couple of links related to stamps.
I do.
You
Let
do.
me
So
grab all.
for anyone who is interested, because it's relevant, I have a couple of stamps currently for sale on my Instagram page. Hi Arlene. You're not late. You're just in time for the party.
Arlene, hi. Oh, what did I? Okay. Why is the one I just clicked? Copy. Come on,
So for
computer.
anyone who's like, "Oh my God, I really love stamps. I want to get a stamp." I was like, let me throw these in here because they are chilling on my Instagram site. I currently have one of them on sale right now. And one of them is very similar to the other ones Dawn has in here on page 220, the square one here that I have currently on
There's the square one.
sale.
And this one's very pretty.
It's
I
very
don't believe
pretty.
I've seen it in person, but it is very pretty.
I don't know. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't think you've seen it in person. Robin, thank you so much for reminding people to hit the like button on the video. Yes, it does help get more notice to the video and it pushes it to other people. The other thing too, just to remind everyone, if you guys aren't subscribed, if you could please hit the subscribe button. It gives you notifications for when we go live. It helps us in the algorithm to, show our content to more people, and that would be really fantastic. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And if you get sick of us, you could just turn it off.
That's
Just
that's
stay
true.
subscribed. Just turn off the notifications if you get tired of us.
But I certainly hope that you don't get tired of us.
Yeah. But yes, I think this one, and what I would say about this one is as a trained metalsmith, this is a etched process.
You're a
I
trained
can tell.
metalsmith?
I am. That was,
Did I know
textiles
that?
and metal. Well, you've probably never paid attention because you stopped listening at textiles when I talk about my degree.
I don't.
My BFA was, my concentration in my BFA was the Department of Crafts, which covered metalsmithing and textiles. So I split my time between the two departments. So
I
I
feel like
learned a
maybe you
lot
have told me
about,
that.
yeah. So anyway, this is a process where a design would have been put on the metal and then it's etched. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what this is. And it's much nicer than what we do today. It means it's not like molded or drop forged or anything like that. This is lovingly made materials. And snap it up because Stephanie may have the budget to buy one of these from Jill. So get it while you can. And then this is the oval one, right?
Yep. This one's also just very, very pretty. Both of these are the plunger, the spring.
Well, I mean, look at the little feet.
Yeah.
The little feet.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When I kind of bought them all, so I kept two in my collection and I sold two, and I snagged them all at like the same time. I'm not gonna lie, it was not hard. It was not easy to decide, which to sell or to sell any of them. So, but sometimes when we're like showing stuff, half of me goes like, maybe I don't want to sell that now. Maybe I want to take that down. So get things before I change my mind. At least I would know that they're going to people that care about them.
Now, here's an aside. If you really love these things, here's another thing to be on a quest for. And I wrote it down somewhere now.
God, I need another thing to be looking for.
This may not be your jam, but there was a woman, and my mom actually, I don't know if she took classes from her, but she definitely knew who she was. She has her books, some of her books. She unfortunately passed away. I want to say it was before the pandemic, but she made, and her last name is like McKelvey or something like that. I will be sure and update this information on the on the Facebook because it's terrible of me that I'm just blanking on this. But in any event, they're rubber stamps of these kind of stamps. And at the retreat, Leah actually has a set of them, and we were using them to stamp on some fabric squares that she gave us in our goodie bag to get other retreat attendees to put their name on them. To make a quilt. Now, I didn't get anybody to sign squares for me because I was like, as much as I'd love everybody's name on a square, I'm never going to make that quilt. I just know myself. So I did, but my mom got lots of people to sign hers, and I stamped a few pieces of fabric, but they are based on these antique stamps.
So
Now, these rubber stamps are probably more rare than the actual old stamps because they were made, for this point in time, and the maker is now deceased. So, but keep your eyes out for those.
Barb has commented Susan McKelvey.
Yes, Susan McKelvey. Thank you, Barb. Yes, Susan McKelvey. She has a number of books, and her one book that I know my mom has is about stamping and putting labels on quilts and things like that, and these lovely things, not just, scrolling your name and the date and stuff and stitching it on the back, but these beautiful things that you could stamp on quilts. And my mom taught a class for a while about doing this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I was like, when I saw that Leah had them and I asked, oh my gosh, where'd you get these? And she said, well, they're Susan McKelvey. And I was like, oh, is it possible to still get them? And she's like, no, these came out in like 2008, 2009. And unfortunately, Susan has passed away. So, but if this is the kind of thing that you're interested in, keep an eye out for those. Maybe you find some like in a Stampin' Up convention or, somebody who has rubber stamps. And, you can't pay people to take rubber stamps these days, if you want to get rid of a collection of rubber stamps. But you never know, somebody might have these in their collection, and you can snap them up if you want to make a quilt with these kinds of stamps on them. So I think that was everything that we had in the PowerPoint that I put together hastily. The one thing that we didn't really cover with pictures was the buttons and
snaps.
snaps. And I have an obscene amount of buttons, and I suspect a lot of us do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, when I used to collect buttons, and I was probably in high school, college, early college, but in high school, I just really got into buttons. And at the time, you could literally go into the thrift store and just buy giant jars of buttons. This was slightly before it got really popular to collect buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a ton. And at one point I had them all sorted, and I had, all of the shell ones, the abalone shell ones, and the metal ones. And I think I have some that are, I mean, not like it's going to be my ticket to financial freedom, but they're worth a little bit of money. So, but I was like, I have all that stuff packed away because it's not my thing right now. But what I didn't know about, what that is in Dawn's book, are those calico buttons.
Yeah.
They're the China buttons that had that calico little like cutesy printing on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always assumed that they were sort of a newer thing.
Mm-hmm.
But after looking at this, some of the ones she has in here and going, oh. Now I did note that it sounds like they did come back. There was sort of a reproduction time in the 20th century of these, but I think I have some that are old like this,
Mm-hmm.
particularly the little plaid kind of ones. And so that was sort of a pleasant surprise for me in when I found these in her book, and to think, oh, I think I have some of these, and they're not what I thought they were. They're a little bit more, I don't know, fancy than I thought they were.
No, I agree.
And then
I didn't I did not anticipate that at all.
mhm,
I don't know that let's see, I don't think I've gotten a ton. Most of the buttons I have are from my mother. Um, I don't think I've gotten a ton of buttons and sewing boxes and things that I've purchased. Maybe a small bag, baggie of them. And I haven't delved into them super high. The one thing I can say about hooks and eyes though is somebody made me do it. Um but I did get similar to the hooks and eyes um on page where did it go? Where did it go? I had gotten a box of old new stock
mhm.
of hooks and eyes. Like I forget what brand off the top of my head. Um
I
but
like the one that's advertising the hump. I was like, my humps, my humps, my lovely hook and eye humps.
I don't know like what happened to the picture that I'm looking for. There was a particular
Is it on page 212 or 213?
Yes, it is. I like right as I was getting it to 212. Yeah, it comes like on those cards, but
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't know the brands very well because I never dealt with hooks and eyes, but it's one of those cards that's like longer.
Oh.
I think they're like orange. Um, but it's so funny. I think they were, I don't know, maybe like 1950s or something. I feel like I should,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and they look, oh my God, it's so cool. I don't know. There's something about kind of antique advertising, vintage antique advertising that I find very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't know, like
Yeah.
unless somebody told you they were 1950, I could probably put them in a store right now and people would be like, "Oh my God, look, they look incredible and amazing."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, on 209, I did mention like the little cards, the carded shell buttons. I
yep.
have a bunch of those.
Mm-hmm.
And, the buttons are like, oh, well, they're old buttons. Everybody loves a shell button, right? But it's the little cards that are so cute. And they're just really, I mean, some of them are just have charming illustrations and stuff on them. And
And
it's
today,
the
none of those things are cute.
Yeah, well, I mean, today you go by button. What is it? Lamode, the
Yeah.
Lamode buttons. It's like a white card, the printing at the top. It's yeah,
And there's
nothing,
nothing cute
nothing to
on
there.
it.
I do have to say, as we wrap up here on buttons, page 207, Dawn has this little bag, this little sewing bag, I guess. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's a button bag with these faces made of buttons. And I'm like, that is so charming and
Yes.
so creepy. Because I'm like, what's under the button? What does their face look like under the button?
I love the cat.
Yes, the cat is pretty cute. But I truly am wondering, like, was it something that was embroidered and then they just sewed the button on, or were the faces left blank for the button? I'm
Yeah,
assuming
for
probably
anybody
the
like
faces were left blank.
not like looking like just so that you can see.
They're they're creepy in a really cute, charming way.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like I'm thinking these used to have, I mean, they had faces on them, and it looks like the faces have kind of worn off, so it makes them look
Mm-hmm.
a little like. But if
Tish
you
says
happened,
Tish says she wants them.
they
I
are
don't
very
think I've
cute.
ever seen anything. See, here's the problem, right? With collecting, buying needlework tools. There are so many different kinds
Mm-hmm.
of not even just a variety of, let's say, darners and things like that. There's so many different kinds of tools and things that are related to sewing at this, these particular points in time. I don't know how often I've looked at something and then found out later, oh, I should have gotten that. It was related to sewing. Like the I'm still hooked on that little like pin purse thing that I was like,
Yes.
I need to,
Mhm.
I've never seen those before, but like how many things have I seen that are like that? Or, with these button bags, I might have looked at that and thought that's a creepy purse, like
Yes, I would have
little
too,
did I
probably.
know it's something like legitimate.
But I would have looked at it going, this is a creepy purse. I must have it. So to kind of wrap up, because as usual, it feels like it's been 5 minutes, but we've been on here for almost an hour and a half.
Yep.
Um, Now in sewing, clothing showing, particularly, I feel like, well, I guess it's probably more of like couture type sewing. You might find things with snaps that where the snap has been covered with this very thin piece of fabric to keep, and it would be like the garment fabric, so it would like blend in. I always thought that was something that you just did. The tailor or the dressmaker or whatever would just do that. They cover those snaps. I found pre-made ones.
Oh.
And you can see it's like a little like it's the fabric has been sort of made around it like a little pouch, like a
Mm-hmm.
little dumpling. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean these are commercially made. And
Oh.
then so you take it apart and you can see. I mean you could see it's a snap.
Mm-hmm.
And I never seen anything like this. And it was very recently that this came in some stuff, like a sewing basket I bought. And at first I was like, what is this? Like these are ugly buttons. And then I realized, like, oh my gosh, they're snaps. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, the top is torn. Um, how many grandmas did that? You ended up using all but two of them. So you just tear it down so it would
Yep.
fit down in your button box and,
Yep.
wasn't like a big card, a big empty card. So unfortunately, if anybody knows or comes across these and knows like who made them or where they came from, I'd love to know.
Helen said that they sold a couple of the button bags. I didn't Kellen, you used to have a store? But yeah, Kellen said they were sort of creepy. Tish said creepy but adorable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I love the weird stuff, and I mean, I think that is just, I mean, just to kind of wax poetic a little bit. I mean, I think that is like what collecting is about. Some people it's, gotta catch them all, like the Pokemon attitude of collecting, when a series of something was made, you're like, I have to have every one, like if it's a book, every volume,
Or
or
Beanie Babies.
yeah. But I am the kind of collector that I don't know that I've ever collected anything that was sort of serial like that, where it's like I got to have one of every, year or volume or issue or whatever it was. I look for the stuff that's unique. And I think many, many, many collectors do that. What is something I've never seen before and I find it and it's like I hit the jackpot, and I
Hmm.
think that's probably why I've often put, put my pennies into finding the things that I've just never seen before, whether they're valuable or not. So
Tish said, "Me too, Steph has to be odd."
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's like, I mean, and I'm not saying that people that collect things that aren't weird, there's something wrong with them. I mean, you've got beautiful things that in your collection that are also unique, and in some ways odd. Like I always think about the nut as being something that's kind of odd, but also very beautiful and very finely made.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I would be perfectly happy with a paper mache nut full of sewing stuff and be like, isn't it weird? It's so weird.
I mean, touche.
Touche.
I can definitely get on board with weird stuff. Um, I mean, I guess on a weird note, that's a good place to wrap up and do our giveaway.
I believe
So
so.
let me get my list here in my random number generator.
While you're
Unless
generating random numbers, I'm going to, let's see.
you're gonna what now? Are you dropping stuff?
Yeah, I was just gonna do a little.
Oh. I thought you were gonna be like, I'm throwing stuff to my cat. Okay. Get my
I don't have knitting needles to do the drum roll, so
oh,
we're gonna do a pretend maracas.
okay. So let me get there in my thing. All right, is everybody ready? Here we go. And click. And it is
Is it me? Is it me?
Robin.
Oh, yay!
Robin, it's you. You are getting Dawn's newest book, The Sewing Rolls book, which is phenomenal. And I think at some point we'll probably end up reading it at this point.
It is a very good book. It's a really cool book.
The photography in it too, the colors are just phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's
I think, and I feel like she kind of told us some of this, like, she has a huge collection of those, and the chapter in this book was pretty beefy of the sewing rolls. And so I could kind of see, like, she did the Schiffer book and then she was like, okay, I'm gonna get into self-publishing, and that's the section I'm gonna make a book on next. Because she really does love that piece of her collection. So congratulations, Robin. I'm so excited.
You know what's funny
Back
too
on
is
quilt nerding, Robin couldn't win because we were part of the bakery. Like, we were never
oh,
included
that's
because she didn't
true.
win.
Back on
So
Tinder.
yay.
It's true. Um, it's interesting too because Dawn's always very hush hush about the stuff she's working on until it gets to a particular point. So I've joked with her because back when she was doing the legwork for sewing rolls, she's like, keep your eye out, for stuff. And I always kind of ask her like, so what should I be looking for now? What might there?
She
And she's always just kind of like everything.
yeah,
Um,
she doesn't give it up. She has a poker
yeah,
face.
I'm just like, what should I, what might there be a book on? Is there another book? And she's just kind of like, you never know.
But I think we have figured out she is definitely working on something. We just have no idea what it is.
She's always
Right.
working on something. That's a busy lady. So I think we haven't seen, I mean, unless she's lurking, we haven't seen her poking into it because she's away with another group doing another set of lectures, I believe. So she's a busy lady. She's a busy lady. So we are so lucky that she took the time to come into our chats, to be around, to talk about her book with us, and that she's going to do an interview with us. And she so nicely provided the phenomenal giveaway items. We're never going to be this cool ever again.
You never know. You never know. Like, I think the books that we're looking at next are some out of print ones, and we're even looking a little bit farther ahead too, because there's some folks that we can bring on to talk to us. We just have to appeal to them first. But their books are out of print. So but we're always looking for new authors who might want to showcase their things here as we become more popular. We're in the progress of becoming more popular, I think. So hopefully Dawn has raised the bar for us, and we will be able to attract some other new authors, with new books, and we might be able to do some cool stuff like this, door prizes and all that jazz again. So
well, and guys, the more that you kind of, if you subscribe and you make sure to thumbs up on the streams and you like them and you share them with people, the more access out into the world that we have, the more access we have to authors and other people that want to come on and provide stuff for us. So
Mm-hmm.
every little bit of sharing and help and everything really adds up. I know that you guys can't necessarily see it, but like on kind of the metric side of things, we can see it happening. Um,
It's
so
very exciting.
please,
Yeah, it's
please
exciting.
do that. And Steph too, don't forget, has her stream on Twitch. I end up there sometimes because, you know, like it just happens. And she
Well, I
streams.
mean, it's a fun place to hang out.
It is. Don't be afraid of Twitch. It's very simple to use. You don't have to do anything fancy just to watch her. She streams Mondays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Robin, if you would
Sure.
be so kind, could you stick her Twitch into the chat for me, please? I would really appreciate that. Um, and tomorrow you're going to talk about your trip, aren't you?
I am. I've got a little bit of show and tell. Um, I can't show everything I would love to show because not everybody is okay with having their quilts shown online, unfortunately. But I do have carte blanche from a few people and I have my own things to show. So yeah, it'll be fun. And be prepared, guys. I'm gonna have to make you jealous. You're gonna have FOMO because it was such a fun week. Old friends, new friends, just had a blast, and I learned so much. I mean,
I don't even think
and
I've heard it
yeah.
all yet. Like there was one night
Oh,
we were on the phone and she was still there kind of winding down. And I thought she was going to tell me something real quick. And then before you know it, I can hear her go back into the hotel room where her mother went to because she loves this stuff too. Hi, Iva. And I can hear her tell her mother, "No, I didn't die. Sorry. I'm just on the phone
I
with
wasn't
Gil."
I wasn't kidnapped in the parking lot. We've just been talking for 2 hours, like in the parking
Yeah,
lot of
and
this hotel.
she literally just I'm literally just sitting there going, "Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh." And then what
Yeah.
happened? Uh-huh. Oh, and then
We
oh my God, you got that? Like there's a long story.
I barely touched, tip of the iceberg, what I've told you about. So yeah, so many very cool things. So
So yeah, guys, make
and
sure that you
Rebecca
watch
and
her
Arlene
tomorrow.
were there too. Yeah, but Rebecca and
Yeah.
Arlene were there too, so they know.
Yep.
Good
They
stuff.
know and they were part of the shenanigans stories.
Hmm. Hmm.
So real quick before we leave, remember we don't have a stream this Tuesday. This stream has replaced it. We're starting our needlework nights on Wednesday. Next week on the 14th, we resume our schedule with this book where you are reading the preface and chapters 1, 2, and 3. And then for people that really like to get a head start on things, this will be the book after that. And this one is Crazy Quilts by Penny McMorris. There's a reason we're doing Crazy Quilts. So even if you don't love Crazy Quilts, just hang with us. You won't be bored.
You
I
won't be bored.
promise. Robin, thank you so much for asking what time Needlework Nights is. That's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We're trying to start things earlier because we have a problem
Yes, we do.
with
And
keeping
I
things
know
moving.
I apologies to our California friends who are like, the earlier you start, the earlier we have to deal with you. But there's always the replay, you guys. We would never keep these shenanigans from you. So if you can't be here live, we appreciate you also watching the replay. So wow.
And always remember to check descriptions on replays. That's when I get in there and I add all kinds of links to Stephanie's stuff, links to my stuff, like my business page, links to the Instagram, interesting tidbits, affiliate links for books so that we can kind of help pay for some of the things we do, like the shipping for giveaways and things like that. Um, and oh, Rebecca
Oh
just asked,
yeah,
what was the book you
yeah,
showed that had patterns?
yes. So
I
what's
will
gonna be
also
that?
put that into the description, Rebecca,
Mhm.
when we're done
I'll
here.
take a picture of it too so that we can have it. And I think Robin said it's available on Abe.
Mm-hmm.
So out of these out of print ones, as we're making decisions, we're looking forward and saying like, okay, out of print but easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want anybody stuck with like having to buy the $150 out of print. We would never do
Or
that to you.
like if you were, how much are they going right now if we were to buy like Dutton's book? Couple hundred?
Yeah.
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 All right. Anything else, Steph, before we head off for the night?
Oh my gosh. I don't think so. I mean, we'll post some stuff on the in the page and if
I'll
you're
make posts of reminders of
yeah.
things on Instagram and Facebook, especially for Dawn's interview, which is Monday the
Mhm.
13th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And again, if you have any questions, specifically for her, get them into us either on the Instagram, on the Facebook group, or at quiltnerding@gmail.com. I have too many words in my head.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for all that. I didn't have any of those words in my head. So um but yeah, so hopefully I'll see you tomorrow on my stream. But if not, don't forget next Monday is the interview with Dawn. This Wednesday is our needlework nights. So we've got lots
Mhm.
of things going on. And if you can't be there live, check out the replays. And we appreciate your support. We couldn't do this without you. There would be no point in screaming into the void.
No, it
So
would
we're
just be
really
me
glad
and
you're here.
Steph screaming at each other.
Yeah. So we're super glad you're here. We love you guys a bunch. And yeah, we can't wait for the next thing. So
Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.